Good.
Oh,
boy. Hi.
Wow.
Hey, I have a question.
Yeah.
Can they hear us? I'm just going to ask this now.
Great question.
I'm going to ask this now because they're not shy in the chat.
And I don't want any trouble.
Well, yeah, exactly.
You know
So
what I mean?
I see a lot of hellos. Oh, low
I can tell
volume,
you can
Michael
hear us.
Storm says. That means he can hear us, just not
Okay.
well. All right.
I'll get your guitar up.
All right.
You gotta get your guitar up. It's just that simple. You know what I mean?
How's that, Michael?
Oh, shit. Okay, you gotta turn your level output up a little
I
bit.
gotta do. Can you give that volume? Yeah. Okay. How's that, everybody?
Play it again? Yep, that's good.
I feel like my voice
That's
is
great.
overloading. Either my voice is overloading or it's just the sound of my voice.
No, you sound good. You sound beautiful.
I sang all night last night at a wild rockin' gig. At last second sort of thing. Hi, everybody. It's Eugene and Dylan's Guitar Show. I'm
Hey
Eugene
there.
Edwards over here.
Yeah.
That's Dr. Dylan
How you doing?
Caligiuri over there. See what he's doing there? You want to tell him how you're getting that sound?
I am running. Oh, you guys ready for this? Okay, hey, for all the gear nerds out there, you guys aren't ready. They're not ready. I can tell.
They're still saying hello.
You want to do it anyways? Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a deluxe reverb that has the channels jumped, which means I have my guitar plugged into the bright channel, and the normal channel is plugged into the number 2 of the bright.
Yeah.
Which means the channels are jumped a la Van Halen.
Yeah.
And JC.
Wow.
Yeah,
No
well,
kidding.
if he was going to do it.
Wow. Yeah.
So anyways, check this out. I don't have a distortion pedal on. I just want to...
Yeah,
okay?
no, it's true.
You ready? There's nothing... And when you record these, it sounds amazing. Sounds phenomenal. But it's not that like direct sound you get from a digital amp, which is like kind of right there. It's in your face.
Yeah, they still haven't figured out how to smooth out the. There should be some
The ones and the
curves to it,
zeros,
so to
like
speak.
dither them.
There's still ones and zeros, exactly, but
Yeah.
they're getting
I
close.
think they're damn close.
But I'll tell you what. A little louder on the guitars. I guess
Both
the guitars are
guitars?
low. I don't know. Like we could be here all day just having these guys ask us to adjust.
I like
things,
it.
no?
That's
Yeah?
good. And
Right. Although, yeah, I did ask.
it's true.
Hey, you know what? Can I, before we get into the Soundgarden Superunknown album, I want to go back a couple of episodes.
Okay.
Because there was something I meant to get to when we were talking about Friends in Low Places, and we just ran out of time. That chord sequence in Friends in Low Places, which essentially we talk about how it starts on the root chord, and then it has this half diminished thing on its way up to the 2 minor, then to the 5. There was a vocal group in the 40s and the 50s. Well, they went on forever, but they had their massive hits in the 1940s and the 50s called the Ink Spots. Look them up, the Ink Spots. They were extremely influential, actually, in music. And they had a few hits. There were a lot of vocal groups at the time. Then they hit this formula where the guitar player just had this little intro in one of the. It just.
Oh, you can hear it, dude. You can hear how cool that is.
He just does it once. He would just play it that once.
I mean,
and then the group would start singing. And once it caught fire, for years, all of their records started in any given key. You heard a guitar just do.
yeah.
And then it didn't matter what the rest of the song was. They had the same intro every time.
Wow.
So just imagine if this was these guys had massive hits and every one of the records had this intro. This is going to influence a lot of people that hear this, especially those people who go on to be songwriters.
I think that's a really important point because it's these things actually originate too, like from parlor music, even in the 1800s, and
Especially the guitar.
like Gershwin stuff, just like it's rampant.
Can you move that out so I can see the comments?
Oh, jeez, God, it's just
Needy.
never
I'm just
never
needy.
ends.
I'm just needy. All right.
You know,
So anyway, I just want to mention that if you
they're
guys
happier.
listen to the Ink Spots.
Yeah.
Just pull up any of the records, and most likely going to have that guitar intro there that's going to sound a lot like Friends in Low Places, which is kind of, it's still really, really cool that a massive hit from the 90s would still employ that harmony, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, so this album, Soundgarden Superunknown, comes out in 1994.
Right.
Did we ever figure out, isn't that the same year that the Winona Judd hit? Was that 92 or 94?
You know what? I'm not sure.
No one's told me yet. Any hoozles, we're clearly into this era. So now I was in a country band on the road at the time when Superunknown came out. So I'm sort of like, I know, I mean, of course I remember it coming out. I remember Bad Motorfinger even more specifically because I was at Berkeley at the time in Boston. And that August, that was the record that was blaring out of every record store. You'd walk by and it just seemed to be playing. And then another album came out called Nevermind. And all you heard was Nevermind. It was an immediate shift.
It was an issue.
I remember Bad Motorfinger just sounds, it's the soundtrack of my move to Boston in the fall of 91. Superunknown comes out in 94.
Yeah.
I'm playing like country line dance places and stuff. But of course, especially Black Hole Sun. But this song had massive hits.
Yeah.
So I didn't even have to be like around my peers or I wasn't in college. I should have been, but I wasn't. But when it came out, it still played so well on radio and especially MTV.
Sure.
And so much it was so catchy.
Yeah.
Because of riffs, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I think. And of course, Black Hole Sun just has one of the most enigmatic chord changes and melodies that rock's really ever given us.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that hopefully. But I think this is a big album for you, and I want you to take the floor here.
Okay. So this album was recorded at Bad Animal Studio in Seattle.
Which, by the way, I'm already interrupting.
Yeah.
It wasn't common for a lot of these bands to record up in Seattle.
No.
Until
In fact,
then.
this studio's gone. It's been
It's not even
disassembled,
there?
and it was like burnt to the ground type of gone. I mean, not intentionally,
The rain
obviously.
didn't put it. Oh, I see.
But Kim Thile, Matt Cameron on drums. Matt Cameron's an incredible drummer,
Yes,
by
he
the way.
is.
A lot of people don't realize the drummers, obviously, with Dave Grohl they do, but they don't realize the drummers kind of made the scene during grunge. I mean, they kept over what was incredible about 80s rock.
The precision and the timing.
Yeah, just the sheer precision of it.
I think somebody in the comments mentioned how, Eric L. mentioned how it has some tricky timings. It does.
Yeah.
Most songs, I think, there's 10 songs on it. I think most songs have some odd meter going on.
Almost all of them.
But of course, this is not. It doesn't sound like jazz fusion anyway. And credit to the drummers at the time that were doing odd meter in rock, but it never felt awkward. In fact, what's the song, the Wave, the second song,
My
song,
Wave.
My Wave,
not
has
yours.
the riff is in 5/4.
Well, so here's one of the ones that's got odd meter. So yeah. So when it goes to the odd meter, it's and it's switching back and forth between 6/4 and 4/4 to the entire song, and you really can't tell the entire time,
Well, unfortunately, those are both like they're divisions of 2.
Yeah, that's kind of nice.
As opposed to like a 5/4.
Right, which is.
But can you do that? I don't know. I hate to put you on the spot. Can you do that and count out loud? Because I don't think I can. I'm sorry. You pick the album.
Five, 6. So that was 4 I did before, and 1, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. Do you hear the difference?
Yes.
It feels like the second bar is cut off. You're like, hey,
exactly.
wait a minute, where's my bar?
Now, and these guys said that they all kind of wrote separately for the most part, and then came together. And so a lot of them had these riffs that were in odd meter, but they didn't plan. I mean, they weren't like, hey, let's write something in odd meter. They really wrote riffs that just made sense to them. Mm-hmm. And Matt Cameron is the one who was, I'll make this work.
Yeah.
Right?
And the fills leading into stuff are incredible. So that one right there, this whole like kind of there's this theme across the album that's this sound.
I was just saying, yes, the flat 2.
Yeah.
For instance, if I may.
Yeah. You may.
In Black Hole Sun, which I I'm in standard tuning for this because
Sure.
we're gonna do the workshop right after this, and I just but it's essentially black hole. Of course, it was done in analog, and the tape pitch is moved a little bit, but essentially the changes would be like G sharp, and then B major, which is the minor 3, but it's played as a major, so that's already odd, and then the flat 7 of F sharp, and then
down by half
6
step.
minor.
It's illegal.
Then the flat 6, then and then the actual 5 shows up. The actual 5 chord shows up.
Yeah.
It's the only orthodox thing that happens. But then there's 1 flat 7, flat 2,
Yeah.
and then it falls down half a step back to in my eyes. So Black Hole Sun has that sharp 2. So what I'm hold
Flat
on.
2.
Okay, it's at the 7th mode. What scale is that?
It's the 7th mode of melodic minor.
7th mode
So,
of melodic minor.
it's
Why did they call
called-
the album that? That's a good album title.
It's a great album title. What are you kidding? So it's called Phrygian Dominant. So let's say we're in
Phrygian,
that
that's what I
E
was trying to
key.
Right?
So
Right?
it makes you think a snake's going to come out of a basket. You know what I mean? It sounds really...
Does that work?
Yeah.
Honestly, does that work?
Oh, the snake in the basket
Yeah,
thing?
yeah.
You know, I am terrified of snakes, so I don't think...
I was at the Chattanooga,
Yeah.
Tennessee Zoo last
Right.
week.
Mhm.
They breed more red pandas there than anywhere else in the world, by the way. That's
I'm not
their
sure if
thing,
I'm happy
Chat.
about that. Am I happy with
I think they're adorable.
Yeah.
But they have a snake. I want to say her name's Gracie, but that may not.
That sounds right. It feels right.
Anyway, but
Yeah.
and there's and she's a cobra, and she's very, very, very long. But the lady, the zoo lady,
Mm-hmm.
said that there's about 5 different warning signs that a king cobra is gonna get.
Going to give you before it destroys your life.
And then even when they come at you,
Sure.
it's really not. I mean, they're not looking to kill you. They're just sort of. That's the last thing they can do is try and scare you off, because they really can't see you. Any hoozles when they come up, and then they. That's one thing, and then they.
There you go.
Well, this thing collapsed before we.
You know what? I will tell that thing from here to play right. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sorry that you're afraid of snakes, but yeah, they're giving you plenty of warnings. You know.
Yeah.
This is a cobra snake, by the way, that I'm doing.
Oh, I can see it.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what a cobra snake looks like? But okay, so I'll show you guys the scale really close or really slowly. So can you put that camera on? Are you guys, this is the money moment. You guys ready for this? Oh wait, it might be a little out of focus.
What am I supposed to do about it?
You circle the focus ring. I don't know. We'll see if they can play. Oh yeah, there it is.
That actually matched the music, if you ask me.
Don't worry, it's coming in focus, you guys. So we have this big, huge shape, and when you hear it in like Metallica songs,
Oh,
you hear that, right?
Fancy.
And it's this like a. It sounds like you're going to get in a fight at an Yngwie Malmsteen concert, right?
it happens more often than I like to admit. It happens a lot.
My seats were closer than that. Okay, sorry.
Well, mostly just a lot of like wallet chains get
Hooked
up by
that's
accident.
that
As a,
could,
hey, dude,
oh my
and then
gosh! And then
that's
it's
a
like,
mess.
well, I like this Def Leppard album.
And
you know.
okay, so talk about like the sound of this album.
Yeah.
No, I think it's aged very well. Of course, because it doesn't have a lot of like. Well, but it does sound very 90s, but I don't mean that in a bad way. Obviously.
Well, let me go to another one to kind of
Okay.
to bring that up. So
Like, what tuning were you in? Was that just a drop D?
regular.
For standard tuning?
Yep. That one was in standard.
Oh, you're putting the 5th on the. Oh, never mind. You're gonna fight the other fan.
Sing it.
I don't
Feel
know.
the rhythm while you can.
Yes, Cornell.
Feel the rhythm in your bones. Feel the rhythm all alone.
In this part. anyways,
I
you
feel
get the
like
idea.
that Chevy Chase in the you can call me Al video. I'm just like
You're like Chevy Chase. It's like a Weekend at Bernie's
still one of the
type of
best
thing.
videos ever. It's just two guys.
So wait, we got to talk about.
But yeah, Eric loves the sound of your amp though.
Oh, thanks, guys. You know
Doesn't
what?
that sound amazing?
You know what? It's like void of bass is what a lot of people would think, and it's like yes, and that's where a guitar sits in the mix.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
This is very important EQ stuff, just for when you're working on your amp settings and stuff. Especially when we add gain, distortion, fuzz, anything in that world.
Right.
Bass
Right.
management ends up being very key. If you're adding some distortion, you're going to want to reduce the bass setting on your amp in general. Just trust us on this. It's
Yeah.
really going to give your note clarity is going to come through.
Absolutely.
It's going to sound
Yep.
muddy without it. Now, if you're playing by yourself,
Mm-hmm.
then it sounds great, right? I mean, really, it's thick and it's just pounding. But that's because you're playing alone.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of EQ space that you can take up. But once you're playing with someone else, man, it makes a big difference. It's funny because all of a sudden you'll be turned up. It's like, I can't hear myself.
Right.
And
It's clouding out like the frequencies that you would normally be in.
That's it.
basically is what's happening.
yeah,
you know?
so you're plenty loud, but you're not wrong. You're right. You can't hear yourself because you can't hear the definition of what
Absolutely.
you're playing.
Yep.
So, so you taking care of that. Now, here's a very, very funny story about what you've done with this this deluxe here. Last night I had a show in a club here in LA, and I brought the same deluxe.
Sure.
Right? And there was
The hand wired deluxe.
No,
Eugene?
I don't
You
have
brought
it.
the
I
hand
don't-
wired
well-
deluxe to the show. The hand wired one.
It's funny you say that.
The 3000.
It's the 65 deluxe reissue. Okay.
It says 64. Or
And-
mine's. can't read it.
Yours
I need
is
glasses.
64, mine's 65.
Okay.
So there's an opening band, and there were like guests coming up. So I said, if anybody wants to, they can just go into the first channel of my deluxe, you know. And so the opening band, the woman Hannah, she says, "Yeah, I'll plug into that." And she goes, and it had nothing was coming out, right?
Yeah.
Does anybody know? Is it on standby? No. And I'm looking at thinking it looks fine to me. I don't know. I forgot. I take my amp. It gets repaired by a guy named Bob Dixon here in Los Angeles.
Bob Dixon.
Amp repair to the stars.
Sure.
So obviously, and he had fixed my deluxe some time ago. I forgot. Mostly because Bob just does this. He pretty much
Bob's
just,
that kind of a guy.
He just kills your first channel. And it has something to do with a cathode, and it sends a little more boogie over to the second channel, which
Sure.
is when I was. So I forgot that the first channel is completely dead. So yes, mine is hand wired. It's hand wired to the point where I couldn't do the jump.
Oh, I see what you're
See
saying.
what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The jump sounds amazing,
the
you
jump
guys.
is really. Now this is something. Smiley face or sad face EQ? That's a good question.
Smiley face. Okay, so
This is good. This is good.
It's like on the left side, which is if you're looking at the normal side, it's all treble. So here, I'm gonna turn this, and you guys tell me what you think.
What do you? He's gonna affect the EQ, people. That's right.
This is the jumps channel.
Oh, okay. I just saw him. He just turned the volume down to nothing. Now he just cranked it to 10, and now it's like, so here's one back and forth. Obviously, I heard it get darker when you're affecting the volume channel on channel 1. Sense everybody? Is anybody learning that? Sounds great, right? It sounds great. Eric L says great. Let the bass play the bass.
Absolutely, Eric.
Kinda,
I mean,
that's it. Let the bass guitar and the kick drum are going to want that area of information. I was kudos for your choices of sodas, by the way.
oh, thank you.
Bring your best gear to the show or not. I do, honestly. Now it's funny you mentioned that because
Sponsored by Sunkist Diet.
oh yeah,
Yeah. Hey, we're waiting for you, Sunkist. We're here.
Just your
When you're
name could
ready.
be right here. Yeah, my bass
Taste
player.
the ocean. Sorry.
My bass. So we did bring a spare amp for the guests, and
Right.
my bass player did, and he deals in a lot of vintage instruments. So he brought
Sure.
he brought a 58 Deluxe.
You know, you have to be somebody who's
It was amazing.
you have to be. You really have to understand why you need a tube amp, and it takes a long time to understand that. Like I didn't understand it until I was older.
But you came in the age of when solid state amps really hit the market hard, and they were doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
to be fair, I had a tube amp as a kid, so I had
You
a dual rectifier.
Okay.
So, but I didn't understand why that was so good. And years later, I had gone on tour and used Kempers and this stuff, and I was like, this is terrible. I can't. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're great. It's just, yeah.
It's like they're just more convenient.
They just don't have as much life.
I mean, the Kempers and all that stuff. The thing is, in the 90s, I did really, really well by getting a lot of tube gear because that was when a lot of older players were selling off all their tube gear because they were going to solid state because that was just easier to deal with.
Yeah.
And tubes didn't go out, and so there was like back in my hometown, like I got an old Fender Twin for like $200.
Yeah.
Like those are the good old days when older people were just unloading their vintage gear. It was vintage then, but there was it was all hassles to them. So this is why I have an amp repair guy.
More on this album though. So
exactly.
The vocals, if you listen to these vocals, they're dry and they're up front. I mean, he is right on the mic. That's why he broke, according to legend, 4 capsules in a tube mic called a Neumann 87 mic.
Yeah.
And breaking the capsules means the studio has to send them off to be replaced because a mic is basically like a little tiny speaker.
Correct.
That you're screaming into.
It really is.
And if you're Chris Cornell, the mic is like what I was told that it would not be like this when I came out of the factory, and here we are. I'm in hell. And so, but the rest of us loved it. Handwire tube snob.
Yeah.
But so he's dry. Dry, by the way. If you listen to the vocals on this album, there's like no reverb on him. This is someone who basically doesn't need reverb.
I was gonna say now. Talk to me about the compression on his because there's
a ton of compression
because
on
of just what his voice is.
So the compression that's on it, you guys, is an 1176, which is a universal audio, and then also what is it? The Teletronics compressor. So it has a fast and a slow compressor on it.
I got you.
And then the next thing is the bass for Eric. The big trick on this, the producer Michael Beinhorn used what's called a DBX subharmonic synth, and these are phenomenal sounding.
What does it do? It's a
what
synth?
they do is they put a certain area of the low end out of phase, and what that does is that makes the low end way bigger. And by the way,
not louder.
Not louder, just big, just wider.
That's key. Right,
wider, not louder.
Okay, gotcha.
And so. When you're the other thing was on the bass, I think they used a RCA BKA ribbon mic, which is about a $2,000 mic, amongst other mics. On the guitar amps, they used a dual rec on one side and a Marshall, both cabs.
Yeah.
Both had ribbon mics on them, like maybe Royer 122s, like tube ribbon mics, and then also good old 57. So if you ever want to, if you want to mic your amp, just
get a
use 57.
unidirectional.
Start with the 57.
Somebody asked. I'm sorry to interrupt. Dave MS. I hope is this the green thing on the rack? It is a lap steel.
You bet your buttons it is.
No, this is a Gretsch Electromatic.
Right.
In fact, Hannah last night she was playing a Gretsch Electromatic guitar. Electromatic is kind of like the Gretsch student level model sort of thing, but this is a 6-string steel. They're made in China. They're not expensive at all. A really great color. Really good pickup on this actually. And if you want to get into playing lap steel, I would, for very low investment, this is not a bad move here. 6 strings, you just you put it on your lap, obviously plug into an amp. And
so I want to show you guys like what this subsynth sounds like.
Maybe we'll feature this in a coming show.
So this is what was on the bass and some of the guitar parts. So this is without the subsynth on this guitar that I'm playing right now. This is what's used on the album.
You're doing this?
Yeah, why not? So here's what's played on the album, you guys. So basically, without the subsynth. Now with the subsynth, you're not ready. Nobody's ready.
I hear the phase move.
Now what?
It tightens it up too, though, doesn't it?
It's like adding it's like adding a synth note to it. Without, ready?
Straight up guitar. You can hear it. Do a spread right
huge.
there.
So the other thing they used on the guitars were these Neve 2254Es, and these are phenomenal. They're only about, if you find one now, they're only about $28,000, and you can get these
like a Camry.
Yeah, right. Like a Charger from the 70s. So basically, these things have this this sound spread to them. And so I'll give you an example. It might be kind of hard to hear for some people because it's going to be really hard to kind of...
And then we're going across a live stream on the internet.
Absolutely. So it's not known for... So here it is with it, right? And here's without it. With. Ready? Sorry. With. Without.
It got real nasally.
Yeah, did you see how it went from here to there?
Yeah.
Here to there. And that's that really full sound, because when they're tracking guitars on these albums, they're tracking left, right, center, bridge end guitar, there's probably 45 guitars on some of these songs. Literally, because back then they just used to use 200 tracks on stuff.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Make huge. So they, instead of adding volume, they would add guitars.
Anybody have a favorite track? I mean, who's familiar with this album? We only have like 2 minutes before we start the workshop for the developing guitarist, which we're having a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Turning scales into melodies. We did some nice,
sounds.
Really beautiful finger picking exercises last week that really add a lot of color. And we start easy, and then we build from there. And we give handouts and PDFs and stuff, so you can work on it on your own, obviously. More
right,
widespread,
Michael.
exactly.
Yep.
And you're welcome, Michael, about the lap steel. We'll tune that up and we'll do a little
player.
Why not?
Playeroo.
And I don't know, but did we smiley face or sad face? I don't know that we answered that one directly. You showed
what was
you
it?
did.
I'm sorry.
Well,
the EQ.
Yeah.
You know what? It's really kind of a running right in the middle EQ, you guys. It's everything's on 5 or 6. Fender amps don't sound very good when you run the mids down all the way. This amp doesn't even have mid.
Yeah, Deluxe doesn't even have mids. So I run my treble really hot, my bass really low.
Yeah.
Like last night at the club, because again, I get out of the way of the drums and the bass. And of course, I'm playing a Telecaster, which is pretty bright anyway. But it kind of just, even a small amp or large, I just kind of run my EQ that way. And that way I kind of have a more accurate sense of how loud I really am in the room to the patron's ears, if you will. Yeah,
and so if you guys want to try that out, it's going to feel in front of your amp like your head's getting cut off. But how often, don't point your amp right at people's faces, and it's not a problem. Because what happens otherwise is when your amps, if you're not using a mic, when your amp is pointed outward, everybody hears a muffled version of your tone. But when it's really super bright in front, everybody hears.
Well, so here's the interesting thing: they had all of our mics, all of our amps were mic'd. Everything was mic'd because the club we played has a second room.
Oh, okay.
And so they piped us into the other room. And a friend of mine, Chris Masterson, great musician.
Yeah, he's really cool.
He's been a guest.
Very
on the show
nice
before.
guy too.
He said he was preferring to go into the other room where we weren't, because everything even sounded better.
Yeah.
He could hear the vocals clear. It was like the better mix was over.
He's a guy that knows what he likes.
He knows what he likes. Exactly.
You know.
But anyway, "The Day I Tried to Live" is a great one by John Scholl.
That's probably my favorite song, John.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, by the way.
Hey, John, I haven't talked to you, but I'm sorry that the Blaze thing didn't work out.
Yeah. I've been getting questions about that. Anyway, it's 6:00, so we got to go.
Yeah. Hey.
Where does the time go, everyone?
I know. It's unacceptable. It really is. But hey, you guys, thank you so much for coming. I could talk about this album for hours. One more couple of notes on here for anybody that's interested. The drums, they were thought of as a grayscale, and they used transistor with or without ICs, if you're familiar with those terms. But this is 67s with the Neve 2257 4s, if you guys want to check those out. This stuff these days was all about the mic pre's and getting tone.
And by the way, so the guy, Michael Beinhorn, who produced this, he produced Korn and Marilyn Manson and Red Hot Chili Peppers,
Herbie
Soul
Hancock.
Asylum. But Herbie Hancock's
he
Rocket.
produced Rocket. Yeah, I think he wrote Rocket.
Won a Grammy, Record of the Year, Rocket. So,
Soul Asylum.
So this it's sort of like a lot of us are just getting great sounds and being innovative.
It is.
Producers are usually a
low
great
on
one
agreeability.
Like this. No, well, could
some
be.
of them.
They are when I'm in the room.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, I forgot my point. We're gonna see you. We're gonna see you next week.
See you guys.
We'll have another
Thanks
one.
so much.
Thank you for hanging out so much. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Just spending 30 minutes listening to us gab. But we got the kids are waiting in the.
Let's play them out.
Okay. I think I'm just gonna.